this group certainly, if nothing else, acquitted itself those last two games in pass protection. Ohio State's calling card as CJ Stroud and those receivers making it happen downfield, and they allowed for long pass routes. They allowed for multiple pass routes, and pretty much anything Ohio State wanted to do in the passing game was there and available to Ryan Day.
And that's going to be the focus moving forward. And how much do you have to change that? Do you go to more quick passing to protect your offensive line? But you've got so many weapons offensively, and you want to use them all over the place. So Justin Fry is going to have his work cut out for him, getting that kind of pass protection that allows that deep stuff to work. But they're going to be starting 5 4-star guys pretty much at some point. Josh Fryer being maybe a high 3-star at right tackle, and he's played a lot, and they're comfortable with him. So it's not like there's nobody, but there's the lack of proven players. And Zen Mahalski, redshirt freshman this year, is kind of a late blooming type of guy that they're hoping can become something. And maybe next year that happens. I think he'll be in the 2 deep. And if I think they want him to win the job, but it's a matter of can he. And I think that this spring is going to be incredibly interesting to watch, however much of it we get to watch.
Yeah, exactly. I was joking in one of my text threads. I have multiple that due to the lack of offensive tackles, that we will not have a spring game. We will just have 3 hours of knocker ball instead, and there will be much rejoicing as they have to go back to the lab and kind of retool this line and figure out what's going on.
Here's our band.
Yes, Ohio State certainly has some guys in terms of star talent, but certainly has some guys with the portal deadline approaching, for the January portal entry deadline approaching, that have been in the program for 3 years and haven't cracked the 2 deep. And, I'm a little surprised we haven't seen more names appear. And I don't speak names into existence. That's, not necessarily the direction I want to go, but the misses that Ohio State has had on the offensive line have been very obvious there. And Ohio State has been fortunate for the last couple of years, to be able and get guys like Paris Johnson Jr., somebody who came right in and played at a high level pretty much from the word go. Donovan Jackson kind of went through a little bit of his growing pains, but is solidified into his position. Dwan Jones was somebody who was kind of viewed as a late add in his recruiting class, and developed into a player that's going to get an opportunity to play on Sundays. So Ohio State needs certainly to find that next guy, whether it is a Zim Mikulski, whether, I'll throw a name of somebody who's going to be a second-year player. What does Tegra Shabola look like here in year 2? Is he somebody that starts to put it all together? There's certainly somebody's going to have to step up. I still think Ohio State is going to search the portal with great gusto and great emphasis to try and find themselves an offensive tackle, but you can't go out and just get somebody and say, here, the devil we don't know beats the devil we do know. You need to make sure that he's somebody that's better than what you have on your roster. And as guys like Walter Rouse is supposed to announce his commitment to Stanford offensive tackle. He's not visited Ohio State in terms of as a transfer target. So that's an issue. The Washington State offensive tackle ends up transferring to USC, but he's a California kid. So that's not a huge surprise that he decided to stay out west after starting his career at Wazoo. But they need to do something here, because at this point, the offensive line has to be able to protect a first-year starting quarterback.
Yeah, one last thing. Sure. I was just going to say, losing 2 third-year offensive linemen, I think you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, they've lost 2 prior in like the last 25 years. Orlando Pace and Michael Jordan are the only 2 that I can think of off the top of my head in terms of third-year offensive linemen leaving for the NFL. And to lose 2 from the same class, 2 at the same time, 2 in 1 year, I don't think that's something they planned on, and I don't think you can ever really plan on losing a third-year center. That's just it, it's just a rarity, and so now you're left scrambling a little bit. But it is time for guys to start emerging. There's going to be plenty of opportunities in the spring for reps, and I do wonder how many guys are waiting until after spring to find out where they are in that depth chart before they leave. I think maybe that's what they're going to be doing. And there are going to be some guys that realize, if they don't realize it now, they're going to realize it in the spring, that with all of these jobs open and you're not getting much of a look, that you're not going to play at Ohio State.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys. The moving sidewalk is ending. Please look down. I mean, Jacob James, is penciled in as the backup center. Is he really the next man up, or are they going to do as I assume, and it'll be Matthew Jones just to improve his marketability? Maybe they think they've got a better offensive line with Jacob James at center and Matthew Jones staying at guard. Whether that turns out to be the case or not, they've got 3 or 4 other guys who didn't see the light of day, who are in their second or third year on the scholarship role on the offensive line at Ohio State, and it's time. Either you're in the 2 deep after spring football or you're not. And if you're not, pick up your stuff and move on, because you're not going to play at Ohio State. So sad reality of the situation. There could be some of those guys that are looking to get through spring semester and maybe complete a degree and then move on. Is entirely possible that some of those guys that are in their second, third year, whatever it is, are in a position to graduate, and then they will indeed move on. So, the handwriting's on the wall. If you haven't played to this point, you're finishing your third year, you're really not in the plans unless you make some kind of a major step this spring. And Justin Fry wasn't the guy who recruited you either. So, transfer portal and incoming freshmen and his sophomores, he had a pretty good sophomore group, and a pretty good freshman group coming in. Are they going to push some of those older guys out?
One more thought too. It's a lot harder now to just carry some players at the end of your 85, at 82, 83, 84, who really just enjoy being around the guys. And okay, well, I just got dealt a rough hand, and I guess I'm not really going to get to play much or whatever, but I just want to stick around. That's a lot more difficult now with the constant churn of the portal and just with the division in terms of the haves and the have-nots. You just really can't carry guys like that at this point. And while it's not a case of guys, officially being shown the door, I think there's a lot of things like, all right, I want you to run some gassers towards that big rectangular object right there and pick up your stuff on the way out. You need to maybe push some guys out of the nest, because again, while you're not necessarily counting on 80, 81, 82 on your 85-man scholarship chart to be immediate impact players, you also can't weigh it down with guys who are just along for the ride because they enjoy the chow.
That's when having Luke Fickell at Cincinnati played such huge dividends, because either Urban or Ryan Day would pick up the bat phone and say to the AAA affiliate down in Cincinnati, I got a couple offensive linemen for you. I got Blue Smith for you. I got, whoever. Here you go. So he's not there anymore. And in fact, they promoted the fact that Luke Fickell will be back in Columbus in February. The first few days of February every year, it's a rite of passage that the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association, the day after the old signing day, that Thursday and Friday and Saturday, they have their coaches clinic at the Hilton Hotel in Easton. Ryan Day will speak on the Friday night. Luke Fickell will be back from Wisconsin to speak, and certainly his motto will be, hey, if Ohio State won't take your guys, we certainly will. And here's the thing. It came up in the chat that I did last night. Lakewood St. Edward has a 2024 offensive lineman by the name, I think it's Ben Roebuck, who's like 6'7", 322-pound offensive tackle, and everybody under the sun has offered him with the notable exception of The Ohio State University. I even did a story on him when he was at the Ohio State camp and had worked directly with Justin Fry on the field on one of those 85 to 100 degree days that we always sit through every year there in June at the football camp. And people are like, why, if they need offensive tackles, and this guy's ranked like 150, 160 nationally in the composite, probably top 20 offensive tackle in the country, something like that. Why isn't Ohio State offering him yet? So, it kind of does make you wonder, what's going on. But, I can't speak for Justin Fry other than to say, if he's worked with somebody directly and he hasn't offered him a scholarship, maybe that should tell you everything you need to know. But they could go out and offer this kid tomorrow, for all I know. So,
well, I mean, not to belabor the point, but I'll say that, give the same thing that I've said for years. In-state guy, you better be damn sure that's a kid you want. Like with St. Ed's, always has kids. You sit there, you give Ben Roebuck the runaround. You offer him, he tries to commit. You go, oh, well, it was an offer, not an offer. Let's just wait. Let's see you in camp and then see how much success you have at St. Ed's. I would rather be transparent and be like, well, we're still evaluating at this point. I think that St. Ed's, the coaching staff and the supporters and everybody around that program would respect that more than you being a little shady at that point. It's a lot easier for an out-of-state school to be able to go in and throw an offer and then kind of wait and see. But I agree. I think Roebuck is a pretty good player. I am kind of curious where the disconnect is, why Ohio State isn't like, all right, we will take this kid on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever day he wants to commit, we'll take him. And to add salt to the wounds, probably going to Michigan. So there you go.